Welcome everybody to another shocking episode of Lockdown 23 in 1. Today we're going to be traveling down to Washington State to speak about Mr. Michael West, who happened to have killed his cellmate inside of Spokane County Jail. Not to mention something else that he does to another inmate shortly down the road. This is probably one of the crazier stories I've ever done. So buckle your seatbelt, ladies and gentlemen. If you're into this type of content, all things lockup and crime related, then this is where you want to be. Hit that like, subscribe, notification bell before you leave, and check out my playlist with many more videos for you to start watching today. Now to start this story, we're going to be speaking about Mr. Michael West, the killer, and why he was in jail to begin with. Back in 2004, he happened to have stabbed his girlfriend in the back, arm, and chest before sexually assaulting her. But he's not new to the jail scene, alright? Prior to that situation, he got locked up for smashing a laundromat employee's face into a washing machine, breaking her jaw and knocking her unconscious. See, this is the thing here. Me, if I were to have done that to someone, I've been in prison for 30 years. I wouldn't have even had a chance to get out and commit more crimes. Right? I probably would have died in there behind that incident, but this guy got out and ended up attacking his girlfriend in 2004. What takes place after that inside of lockup? If I were to guess, he's never going to see the streets again. You have no idea what we're about to get into, man. This is crazy stuff. Now, Wes is back in Spokane County Jail for sexual assault on his girlfriend. He found himself sharing a cell with Mr. Chris Rentz, a 21-year-old in jail for stealing a tank of gas. And believe it or not, this is the only photo I could find of this man. Now, I read the whole story on how this went down, him stealing the tank of gas, and if you were to ask me, it was just a complete misunderstanding. He should never have went to jail to begin with. That's what's truly sad about all this, and I'll leave a link in the comment section pinned so you can read a little bit more about how he ended up going to jail for it. But anyways, he lands himself in the same cell with Mr. West for stealing a tank of gas. Mr. West is in there for sexual assault. And in every jail that I've been in, they separate inmates based upon violence, gangs, stuff like that. So Brent stealing a tank of gas should never even been on the same floor in that jail with that guy. Anyways, they're in a cell together, Spokane County Jail. Now, Mr. Rentz was having a really hard time with his cellmates. He told his mother, brother, sister, even COs, that he was having some really hard times and need to be moved. Soon thereafter, Wes began to haze Mr. Rentz. Wes told Rentz he needed to prepare him for prison and began something what they call bean dipping on him, holding him down while sticking fingers where the light don't shine. Now, according to the findings in the county's prosecutor's summary of facts regarding the case, one night the report states that Mr. Rentz became sick of being bullied and announced to his roommates that he didn't want anyone throwing wet toilet paper onto his bed anymore. Which is kind of strange to me because that means that after they did the whole bean dipping situation, that he kind of brushed it off and just kept on living with these cats. But the wet toilet paper balls, nah, he's had enough. I got a story about that, man. There's this guy that, people would mess with, kind of haze a bit. Believe it or not, almost every jail has those type of inmates where guys will bid off of them, pick on them, bully them. This particular inmate, just like Homeboy said, was getting wet toilet paper thrown at him, but it wasn't on his bunk by his cellmates. He would walk around the cell block, and at any given time, someone from certain cells, as soon as he walked past, would beam him in the back with wet toilet paper. And it would be massive too, man. Some of those explosions when it hit him in the back would splatter the toilet paper all over the place like a real grenade. Shrapnel everywhere. And then they duck off into the cell. Homeboy look around, no one knows what happened. Right? They did that crap for like 2 months straight. So, I seen these type of antics. But after Rentz announced to his cellmates that he's standing up for himself, he had enough of it, Mr. West, the one that, is in there for attacking his girlfriend, sees a challenge. He's ready to fight. Ain't no way Mr. Rentz is gonna bulldog him. He soon tackled Mr. Rentz and tried to strangle him. When Felice and Martin, the other 2 cellmates, yelled to him to stop, Wes appeared to snap out of it. He asked the others what happened. He didn't believe them when they said he tried to strangle him. Maybe he had some kind of mental blackout or something. I don't know. That's crazy, right? I'm just putting myself in the cell. Maybe I was one of the other cellmates on the top rack, seeing all that unfold, and then, I wouldn't want to be sleeping with that guy no more. If he snapped out, I was like, damn, I strangled someone? You serious, bro? Yeah, I don't want to be sleeping nowhere near that. After all this took place, Mr. Rentz went back to his bed and wrote a letter. His last letter. One last lifeline to the corrections officers. He then slid it under the door of cell 3W30, leaned against the wall, and started crying. The corrections officers never saw his letter, somehow not passing that cell from the time Rent slid it under until the time that West retrieved it from under the door. Homeboy got up out of his bed probably in the middle of the night, because that's probably when Rent slid it under the door, right? Most people, they like to check out like that. Everybody's on lockdown, they'll come get them, and nobody know what happened. But somehow Mr. West sees all this take place, gets up out of his bed, and fishes the letter back in the cell. That's crazy. Just imagine Mr. Rent seeing him read that letter in the cell trapped. He knows he's about to snap out. The only hope he has is those other two cellmates that kind of stopped the altercation from happening the first time. In the letter, Chris wrote that he was afraid for his life by his cellmate, Mr. West. Mr. West eventually ripped up the letter and threw it in the toilet. Mr. West then proceeds to beat Rents with a push broom, poking him with the handle in the face and chest, and smacking him with the bristles. At one point, the officer that's working in the booth called into cell 3W30 on an intercom, having heard noise from his station below. Keep in mind, a lot of cells have these emergency buttons with an intercom, where the guards can talk to the cell or whatever, tell them to pack it up, you gotta go to medical, anything. Just keep that emergency button and intercom fresh in your mind, alright? Because we're gonna get back there again in a second. But after the officer called in on the intercom, Wes answered and said, "We're just playing a game. Horse playing, we apologize, we'll keep it down." The corrections officer didn't think anything of it and decided not to walk up to the cell and investigate. Chris's head made a cracking noise against the ground when Wes tackled him. He was bleeding from his face, and Wes grabbed him around his neck. One of the cellmates reported that Chris sounded like a grunting pig as he tried to shake off Wes' stranglehold. That is a truly terrifying scene. The cellmates yelled for Wes to stop, to which he responded, "Shut the fuck up and leave this to me." Chris was found later by Officer Bowman laying face down on the floor with a bed sheet knotted around his neck and blood pooling around his body. In the Spokane County Examiner's autopsy report, Chris was found with his neck sliced with a razor blade and with multiple blunt force injuries to his head and neck. Cause of death, asphyxiation. Can you imagine seeing your cellmate do that to someone? Probably just had a few months to do in jail. Crazy, crazy story, but that ain't the end of it. Nope, it's not. Of course, Mr. West gets charged for the death of his cellmate. You would think he'd get put in freaking, 23-1 for the rest of his life. Not to mention it took place in jail, so he's probably going to go even more crazier in prison, which he does. And this is something that only comes out of a horror book, ladies and gentlemen. Turns out Mr. West somehow throughout time lands himself in a medium security level prison, Airway Heights Correctional Center. And he's 34 at this time. That's what blows my mind, alright? He's in a medium level security prison just 6 years later after killing his cellmate in Spokane County Jail, because when that happened, he was 28. How does someone make it back into medium level security prison within just 6 years? A lot of times, if they ain't catch no kind of write-ups, I'd say within 5 to 10 years, man, they'll start moving these killers back into the medium levels. But that's as low as it'll go, I've broken this down in past videos. I'd say like level 3 is the lowest that, violent killers can get to. But Mr. West once again has a cellmate in his medium level security named Mr. Chad Ballstad. Now Ballstad, who was to be released in 2015 for a 2007 beer robbery that led to one of the victims getting stabbed and their cheekbone broken, losing their sight. Keep in mind the losing their sight situation. And also remember the emergency button. Both of these is like some Final Destination turn of events type of things. Now, Mr. West somehow gets into a situation. I think he's having a mental breakdown right now, alright? Because he attacks his new cellmate, Mr. Ballstad. And somehow during the attack, this is what took place. It says in the cell that the men shared with another inmate on a Sunday night, Ballstad's left eye was gouged out and hanging out the socket. And the right eye was damaged so bad that it appears he's going to lose sight for the rest of his life. Crazy turn of events, the 2007 beer robbery that he committed, where he broke the person's cheekbone that caused blinding, now made full circle and he's completely blinded. The article reads that Mr. West did all this with his bare hands. Mr. West then looked at his other cellmate with a look of death is coming your way as well. What does his cellmate do? Remember I said keep in your mind, he jumps up off that rack and goes push that emergency button. Yeah, he ain't around with old Mr. West. Then Wes immediately starts attacking him as well. Prison guards arrive to find Wes trying to strangle Mr. Welch with a towel. Halstead's left eye was hanging out of his socket. It was a very intense crime scene, said one of the staff. Turns out Mr. West, after all this took place, said that he's Lucifer himself, and that his cellmates should have bowed down to him. The other cellmate went on to say that Mr. West, when he was strangling and popping out dude's eyeball, he was chanting the whole time over and over again, "Give me an apple." Man, I told y'all this was a crazy one. Mr. Bolstad is alive, but he's gonna be completely blind for the rest of his life. Let's all be thankful that we are not in the state penitentiary with the cellie like Mr. West. Mr. West was then transferred to a maximum security unit once again at Washington State Penitentiary in Walla Walla. Crazy turn of events in this story today. Can you imagine that Sally man seeing all that stuff go on, both those situations? But homeboy, that one time, he jumped up off that rack and went to the emergency button. What if that thing was never there? Welsh would have been his next victim. Cellmate wasn't going to be helping nothing. His eyeballs hanging out. Right, man? So that would have had to been one terrifying situation. I'm not going to lie. Something like that happens to me, I might tap that emergency button, but it's life or death. I'm going to try to kill that fool as well. Ain't no way I'm going to let someone attack me after gouging someone's eyeball out. Ain't no way I'm going down like that. I will bite that dude's damn neck off before anything happens to me. Animalistic survival of the fittest. And the crazier part about it is, let's say someone were to defend theirself in a cell like that by chewing someone's freaking neck open, right? You're probably still gonna end up getting some time for it, even though literally it was self-defense, So it's like a lose-lose situation. But at the same time, do you want to end with your eye hanging out like homeboy? Ain't going down like that. I'm gonna try everything and anything in my power, regardless of what kind of charges I get after the fact, to protect myself. And this is a prime example, of why individuals carry shanks, or out here in the streets, guns. The great equalizer. I mean, what can you do to someone that has more strength and is bigger than you? If you're not skilled in the arts of fighting or anything defense, then only thing that would save them is if they had a weapon, or the grace of God, either one. So let this be a rude awakening, man. Anybody that might be taking this path to the state penitentiary, man, keep your close eye on your cellmate. You never know what the they're capable of, especially if you're in a medium to high level prison. He's in there for some violent shit as well, more than likely. But the most important thing here is all this can be avoided if you just follow the law. So just keep your nose clean and stay on that straight and narrow. You can remain free and enjoy my content from the luxury of your living room. But stay tuned, I got another crazy one coming your way, ladies and gentlemen. In the meantime, though, as always, y'all be easy, be safe, and stay free.